Welcome back one and all to the Boston Celtics Newsfeed, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Mike Walsh, manager of the Celtics Newsfeed, and this is day 11 of our 2017-18 NBA preview. We'll be going day by day in alphabetical order, releasing a new team preview each day leading up to opening night for the Celtics, October 17th in Cleveland. Before we get started today, some quick news. Wanted to mention that the CLNS Media team has been all over training camp down in Rhode Island. They were at Celtics Media Day on Monday. All that coverage is on the YouTube page at youtube.com/CLNS Media. We'll have continuing coverage on the YouTube page at training camp and throughout the practice week. CLNS will also have full coverage of both preseason home games, so subscribe to youtube.com/CLNS Media and you won't miss a thing. Each of these preview podcasts will be accompanied by an outline blog post on our site, clnsradio.com. Today I'm going to be speaking with a special guest, host of the CLNS Lakers Nation podcast, Trevor Lane, about the Los Angeles Lakers. This storied rivalry takes on a new form this year as LA has a boisterous new president of basketball ops and an electrifying new point guard. So without further ado, let's get into day 11 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview with the Los Angeles Lakers and Trevor Lane. All right, day 11 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview. We're talking with Trevor Lane about the Lakers here on day 11. Trevor hosts the Lakers Nation podcast on the CLNS Media Network, writes over at LakersNation.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Trevor, how are we doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Trevor dialing in from the West Coast tonight. So we're excited. The Lakers have a very, very intriguing looking, I just previewed their depth chart, and it's almost surprising how much has happened this offseason, both with the league, and the Lakers are no stranger to that. What, I guess, is the highlight for you of this offseason so far?
Well, I think when you're talking about this year's Lakers, the highlight has to be drafting Lonzo Ball with the second overall pick. I mean, he's ushered in this whole wave of optimism. I mean, there's been a lot of moves that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka have made since they came on board. But, I mean, the crown jewel right now has to be Lonzo, at least for this summer. He's changed everything. I mean, you look at the way they're talking about running their offense at this point. It's almost Showtime-esque, the way they're describing the way they want to get out a run. And that's all because of Lonzo and his passing ability. So, yeah, I mean, if there was one singular highlight that we were going to pinpoint for this summer for the Los Angeles Lakers, it has to be that selection of Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, that's definitely where my eyes sort of immediately go, but there's just so many new faces on that roster. I want to jump back to last year real quick to sort of review for folks. The Lakers finished 26 wins last season, 14th in the Western Conference. It was their first year in a really long time without Kobe Bryant on the roster. But they actually improved. I think they won 9 more games than in Kobe's last year, which was kind of abysmal. And you have to figure that arrow kind of continues pointing up. Joining Lonzo, there's going to be a lot of new faces, but some other guys that have been there and will continue to grow with him. All right, so in February is when the whole, Rob Pelinka, Magic Johnson take over. Can you take me back a little bit into that and your view on what they, I guess, have accomplished in such a short time?
Well, sure. I mean, they came on board right before the trade deadline. Well, it was actually about 3 weeks before the Magic came on as a consultant, and then just a few days before the trade deadline, the Lakers pulled the trigger or Jeannie Buss, I should say, pulled the trigger and removed her brother Jim Buss and general manager Mitch Kupchak, put Magic Johnson in charge. Then he immediately started wheeling and dealing. He got right in the thick of things, and he actually was on the call to finalize the Lou Williams deal. So they traded a veteran at the trade deadline. They traded Lou Williams. They picked up a draft pick and Corey Brewer, and they got that pick from the Houston Rockets. So they were making moves right away, right from the get-go. They ultimately ended up using that pick that they got from the Rockets to trade down in the draft for 2 picks, and they ended up using that to get Josh Hart and Thomas Bryant. And from then on out, I mean, Magic Johnson has been sort of this new face of the franchise, so to speak, or at least face of the front office, which has been a complete 180 from what we had before with Mitch Kupchak, who is very, very understated, very reserved personality. And now the Lakers have Magic out there with his beaming smile. And so he's got people really believing in the Lakers again and believing that they will turn this thing around.
That's great to hear. And Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka have really been wheeling and dealing. They haven't stopped really since they took over and did that Lou Williams trade. Early on in the summer, the same day they draft Lonzo Ball, they wind up moving D'Angelo Russell, former number 2 overall pick, to the Brooklyn Nets. They're also able to shed Timofey Mozgov's contract in that move. But they also return Brook Lopez, which is a great bring back and a pick. What do you like most out of that deal? Is it that there's space cleared for Lonzo at the point guard? Is it Brook Lopez coming back? Or is it just getting out from under that Mozgov contract, clearing up cap space for potentially bigger moves even next summer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they were really clearing the way for Lonzo there. I mean, I was one of the big proponents of playing Lonzo and D'Angelo Russell alongside each other. D'Angelo Russell proved at the end of last season that he could play the two if need be. Essentially used D'Angelo Russell as the carrot to get the Brooklyn Nets to take on Mozgov's deal, and that helps them clear cap space for next summer. Now, I mean, that in and of itself may have been a solid move, but they also landed Brook Lopez in that deal, who is a very good center. And then they picked up a draft pick. They picked up the 27th pick, which they ended up using on Kyle Kuzma, who had a phenomenal summer league, ended up being MVP of the summer league championship game. So a lot of fans were upset to see D'Angelo Russell go, and I understand that, especially seeing a former number 2 pick go.
Yeah, it seems like Lopez gets forgotten a little bit, given that he has spent, so many years in relative obscurity out there in Brooklyn, where the team hasn't been any good. But he averaged over 20 points a game last year, added a 3-point shot to his game. He looks very good, and definitely a more potent offensive option than Mozgov for Ball in that offense to operate around. If fans upset over a number 2 pick leaving, the Lakers do still have 2 other former number 2 overall picks. Can you give me your take on Brandon Ingram, what he looks like? Is he growing into his body? Because he's a guy that team is, going to be relying on, I think, for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, from all reports out of training camp and from seeing him play in summer league and all that, are that he's grown by leaps and bounds. The Lakers are now talking about him as being the team leader, which no one would have anticipated last season. He's the guy who is really getting on everybody's case in practice and holding everyone accountable, and that he was just a monster in the gym all summer. Of course, I mean, all these comments, we take it with a grain of salt during this time of year because,
for sure.
I mean, this is the point of the season where you hear everybody say, they put on 15 pounds of muscle and they're in the best shape of their lives and all that. But Brandon Ingram, you can see that this guy has put on weight. He is noticeably bigger and stronger. That doesn't mean he's suddenly this ripped dude or anything like that, because, I mean, he's a skinny guy. He was really skinny as a rookie, and he's still skinny. But you can just see that he's added more, and I think most importantly, we saw that he's not just getting stronger, not just bulking up, but functional strength. We saw that play out in summer league where he was able to take contact. So that's exactly what you want to see. And the fact that Magic Johnson is calling him the untouchable player, and he's looking at him as one of the corner pieces of this rebuild, I think it says a lot about the work ethic that the Lakers have seen and the improvements they've seen. So, I mean, the expectations for Brandon Ingram are going up every time Magic Johnson opens his mouth. And from all comments from Brandon Ingram, he is completely welcoming this, and he really wants to step up and show people some things this season.
I mean, the more I'm listening to you, the more it just seems like it has to be such a fresh air out there to kind of get beyond the Kobe era, kind of they just, shitted Metta World Peace was there last year, to sort of see the future and breathe in these young guys and get to, see them develop. They do make 2 other moves towards the end of summer. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is signed, brought in, I think, just big money for 1 year, and then obviously Andrew Bogut just a week ago or so. Real quick, give me your take on those 2 guys and what they bring to the Lakers that maybe they may not have had beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope obviously gives them a great perimeter defender. He's a guy that they really need. I mean, they were dead last in the league in terms of defensive efficiency. They were just dreadful. And part of that was that they had no rim protection, and that's something that Andrew Bogut, the other guy that you mentioned, helps to fill that role. If he makes the team, he's only on a partially guaranteed deal, so no guarantee there, but he could potentially fill that role. And then on top of that, you've got Caldwell-Pope, who is a phenomenal perimeter defender. And I think he's a great fit next to Lonzo Ball, because he helps to mitigate some of Lonzo's defensive issues, while at the same time, his 3-point shooting is good enough, at least, where he can contribute to floor spacing and still be a factor on the offensive end, while still guarding the best perimeter player on the other team on a nightly basis. So I think he'll act as that guy that absorbs some of the pressure off of Lonzo on both ends of the court. So I think it's a great fit. They kind of lucked into him. I mean, ironically, the Boston Celtics getting rid of Avery Bradley was the catalyst that led to the Lakers getting Caldwell-Pope. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely excited to see what he can do in this new Lakers backcourt.
It's time to face it, guys. Going shopping at department stores for clothes is rough. You spend way too much time there, way too much money. You gotta go into those sketchy dressing rooms. The whole situation is not worth it. That's why I want to tell you about Bombfell. Guys want to look good, and Bombfell is simply an easier way for men to get better clothes. So head over to bombfell.com, fill out a questionnaire. You're matched with your own dedicated personal stylist who will pick out each piece just for you. They'll email you the selections, give you 2 days to make any changes or cancel the order altogether. You're in total control the entire time. And I mean, that's even after you get the clothes. Bombfell is going to give you 7 days, a full week, to decide what you like and want to keep and what you want to send back. Check out Bombfell hassle-free. Sign up, tell them about yourself, your budget, your measurements. Pick and choose what you're looking for or leave it to them. And of course, shipping is free both ways. That's not all though. Sign up using the promo code Garden Report and get $25 off your first purchase. Go to bombfell.com/Garden Report for $25 off. That's BOMBFELL.com/Garden Report. We're talking with Trevor Lane of LakersNation.com and the Lakers Nation podcast on the CLNS Media Network. Follow him online on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Trevor, earlier this week you posted on LakersNation.com that Lonzo Ball is sort of looking a little bit more for his offense. Can you tell me, the impetus behind that story and what's going on with Lonzo this preseason?
Well, yeah, I mean, this was a discussion that they had coming out of their first full practice and training camp that the question was posed that, Lonzo, with his passing ability being so well known and so many teams are going to be preparing for it, and the NBA teams try to take away your strengths and make you do something other than what you want to do. And they were posing the question that the teams may end up trying to take away Lonzo's passing angles, may force him to be a scorer, and we saw that play out a little bit during Summer League. And Lonzo was saying that he's going to be ready to step up in those opportunities. So if a team totally drops off of him and leaves him open, he's ready to fire away from three. He's also ready to attack the basket. I think he's a little more comfortable right now passing the ball, and that's just kind of his nature. He is one of the most unselfish basketball players I've ever seen, possibly to a fault. He is more happy giving the ball to other people and setting them up to score than scoring himself. But he can do it. So he just has to recognize when it's time for him to score and when it's time to pass. And that's a very, very difficult thing for a young point guard to do. We watched here in Los Angeles, D'Angelo Russell struggle with that for the past few seasons. So not easy. I'm expecting that to be something that he may struggle with a little bit. But ultimately, I think the tools are there for him to be able to read the floor and score when need be and then pass when it's open.
All right, with what time we have left, we want to get into the Celtics versus Lakers matchup. Obviously, long-time historic rivalry. Hasn't been, quite up to snuff in recent years, and obviously this year, probably as well. The Celtics may be on a different level than the Lakers, especially out west. But they will meet twice during the regular season, Trevor. Wednesday, November 8th, the Lakers will come to Boston. That game will be on ESPN. And Tuesday, January 23rd, the Celtics visit the Staples Center in LA. That one on TNT, so 2 nationally televised games here. What do you see in this matchup?
Well, hey, I mean, first of all, anytime it's Lakers versus Celtics, there's going to be that natural intrigue. I mean, it's something that's going to draw people in just because of all the battles these franchises have had over the decades, really. I mean, this is the rivalry in the NBA. Now, right now, the Celtics are clearly a team that's built to win in the here and now, and the Lakers are not. So that's it's definitely going to be a challenge for the young Lakers. I mean, look at some of the matchups and you think about Marcus Smart defending Lonzo Ball. He's certainly going to be physical with him and going to be giving him some issues. And then of course the Lakers will try to sick Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on Kyrie Irving and it'll be interesting to watch that battle as well. I think Jaylen Brown versus Brandon Ingram is always interesting because they went 2-3 in the draft and kind of watching those two guys go after each other, and then Al Horford and Brook Lopez, both two very versatile big men who can step out, spread the floor. And of course, Gordon Hayward, I mean, he's kind of the X factor there. I would anticipate, obviously, Celtics wins. I would have to think that they're the heavy favorite, given that they should finish near the top of the East. And so I'm very much looking forward to those games.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be interesting matchups. Even beyond the intrigue of Ingram and Brown, we now have Lonzo and Jason Tatum. Ball going number 2. The Celtics trading out of the 1 spot could have swooped in and taken Lonzo Ball there, but they wind up trading down to 3 and taking Jason Tatum, who they think is the best player in the draft. So even more intrigue and should be a lot of interesting games for years to come. November 8th, January 23rd, get your tickets this year if you want to see LA v. Boston. That's all the time we have for today, though. Thank you so much to Trevor Lane for joining us. You can follow Trevor online on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Read his stuff on the internet at LakersNation.com. And catch the Lakers Nation podcast, part of the CLNS Media Network. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Day 11 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA preview. Again, you can get more analysis on the CLNSradio.com site and view any of our previous episodes at YouTube.com/CLNS Media. Follow CLNS on Twitter at CLNS Media and myself at CLNS_Walsh. Be sure to subscribe to the Celtics Newsfeed, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and of course the CLNS Media Network's mobile podcast app. Tune back in tomorrow when we will be previewing the Memphis Grizzlies with Day 12. Until then, this is Newsfeed Manager Mike Walsh signing off.